The Hall of Concord was built to humble anyone who entered. Columns of glass and light stretched into infinity, carrying the colors of 100 suns through crystalline walls. Alien delegates shimmered beneath hovering translation drones, their voices a mixture of tones, scents, and gestures that no single species could fully understand. Humanity's small contingent stood at the center, outnumbered, outclassed, and very aware of it. Captain Mara Vance kept her hand close to the holster on her belt, watching the crowd from the shadows of the dais. Every species represented there had, at one point, declared itself the peak of galactic civilization. Humanity had been invited here less than a year ago, barely tolerated, constantly analyzed. To them, the humans were a curiosity that had crawled out of the ruins of their own extinction. "Ambassador Holt," she said softly through her comm bead. "Half the room's pheromone levels just spiked. They're anxious." "Anxious or eager?" came Holt's reply. The old man adjusted his collar and stepped forward as the central holoprojector bloomed to life. High Chancellor Travex appeared within the light, tall, insectoid, chitin gleaming like obsidian, 6 cold eyes fixed on the human envoy. "We begin," it said, its voice resonating through multiple frequencies at once. "The matter of the Luton incident." Mara's stomach tightened. The Luton colony, 50,000 humans gone overnight. No survivors. Holt had come to demand investigation, not judgment. But the way the Chancellor's mandibles clicked told her this wasn't going to be diplomatic. Travex raised one clawed limb. A new hologram emerged, grainy, dark, unmistakably human. 3 Terran warships, hulls marked with the old UNS Resolute insignia, firing plasma rounds into a Concord patrol fleet. Wreckage. Explosions. The screams of alien voices. The hall erupted. Delegates shouted, hissed, flashed colors. Some backed away from the human delegation as though the image itself were contagious. Others pointed accusing limbs and appendages. "That's falsified," Holt thundered. "We don't even use plasma-based weaponry anymore. Those hull designs are from 2 centuries ago." Travex's tone never shifted. "The footage was recovered from Concord military archives. You will answer for it." Mara stepped forward. "Show the transmission data. Metadata. Timestamps. Data corruption prevents authentication," Travex replied smoothly. "Nevertheless, the visual evidence stands. Humanity has violated Article 1 of the Concord Charter, aggression against a member fleet." "This is madness," Holt said, voice trembling with restrained fury. "We came here to seek truth, not trial." A dozen security drones drifted from the upper tiers, forming a silent ring around the human envoy. Their energy emitters hummed to life. The chamber dimmed. Mara's instinct screamed. She flicked open her wrist console, activating passive scans. Encrypted signals flickered between the drones and the Council's command node. There, an extra frequency buried beneath Concord's standard encryption. Someone else was controlling the feed. "Ambassador," she murmured, "we're being played. The footage was injected from an external relay. Can you prove it?" "Not yet. But whoever did this wants us isolated." Travex raised its claw again. "Effective immediately, the human delegation is placed under detainment pending investigation. Your fleet will surrender for inspection." The translation drone rendered its next words in flat Terran standard. "Compliance is mandatory." The hall went silent except for the hum of weapons. Holt looked around at the faces of the Council. None spoke in their defense. Every one of them preferred the comfort of accusation to the uncertainty of truth. Mara's hand drifted to her holster, her voice calm but firm. "Ambassador, we're leaving." "That would be unwise," Travex said, and this time there was something almost pleased in its tone. The drones reconfigured into an attack formation. Mara didn't wait. "Smoke!" she snapped. A burst of interference filled the chamber as her wrist console overloaded the translation grid. The drones froze for 2 seconds, enough time for Holt and the others to run. Guards shouted. A stun beam scorched past Mara's shoulder, blistering the glass floor. She spun, fired once, and hit the emitter core of the nearest drone. It crashed in a shower of sparks. "Go!" she barked. "Back to the Resolute!" The delegation fled through the corridor, chased by the echo of alarms. Beyond the grand chamber, the polished perfection of the Concorde gave way to steel passageways and panic. Non-human diplomats scattered as humans sprinted past, shouting orders into comlinks. "Docking Bay 5 sealed," said Lieutenant Ramos over comms. "Security teams closing in." "Open an alternate route," Mara replied. "Override locks if you have to." By the time they reached the bay, the sound of gunfire and crackling energy filled the air. Concorde enforcers, armored insectoids with shock rifles, had formed a perimeter around the human ship. Their translator drones broadcast warnings in a dozen tongues. Holt stumbled to a halt, breath ragged. "If we open fire, they'll use it as proof." "They already have their proof," Mara said, eyes hard. "We're not surrendering to a lie." The enforcers raised their weapons. Mara keyed her calm. Ramos, suppression burst. Now. A deafening pulse of electromagnetic static ripped through the bay. The alien weapons flickered, some exploding in their handlers' claws. The humans surged forward, pushing through the chaos. Holt was pulled aboard the Resolute by his aides as Mara covered the rear, returning precise bursts of fire, non-lethal, but decisive. When the airlock sealed behind her, the ship was already shaking under impact fire. "Shields up," she ordered. Ramos's voice came through the static. "All Concorde defense grids are targeting us." "Orders? Get us clear." The Resolute tore free of the bay in a bloom of blue plasma. Alarms screamed as defense cannons tracked them from the city below. Mara strapped in at the command seat, every motion controlled and sharp. "Ambassador, they'll be sending pursuit ships in minutes," she said. "Do what you have to," Holt answered, voice low. "The Concorde just ended diplomacy." Outside, the sky was a storm of light. Hundreds of ships lifted from the planet's surface, sleek alien vessels aligning into formation, their drive trails converging on a single human target. "Transmission incoming," said Ramos. Travex's voice filled the bridge, calm and resonant. "Human vessel Resolute, you are in violation of Concorde law. Power down and surrender. Any further aggression will be met with termination." Mara stared at the fleet arrayed before her, an armada large enough to erase worlds. She should have been afraid. Instead, she felt an old, familiar chill settle in her chest, the one she'd felt during the sieges back on Earth, when cities burned and humanity refused to die. She switched the comms to a wide broadcast channel. "To the Galactic Concorde," she said evenly. "You are targeting a diplomatic ship under false charges. Stand down, or this will be remembered." No response. The alien ships advanced, their hulls glinting in the light of Veritha's twin suns. Holt leaned forward. The Resolute limped through the darkness, her hull scorched and her drives bleeding radiation like a wounded animal. Captain Mara Vance stood at the observation deck, watching fractured starlight shimmer across the forward viewport. Behind her, the ship creaked with the sound of overstressed bulkheads and exhausted men. They had escaped Verith 9, but only barely. "Status?" she asked without turning. Lieutenant Ramos' voice came through the calm. "2 engines offline, shield grid at 40%. Navigation's running on backups. We're hiding inside the shadow of a brown dwarf, but they'll find us if they keep scanning." Mara nodded. "How long until we can jump again?" 6 hours, minimum. Too long. The Concorde wouldn't let a human ship vanish so easily. They'd hunt them across half the spiral arm if needed. The door behind her opened with a hiss. Ambassador Holt stepped in, coat singed, face pale but composed. "We received a reply from Earth Command," he said. "Short and clear, return immediately." Mara gave a dry laugh. "They think it's that simple? They don't understand what happened here." "No one does," she replied. "The Concorde's acting like we're a contagion. That footage wasn't just falsified, it was engineered." Holt moved closer to the viewport. "Can we prove it? I pulled fragments from the Council's signal array before we jumped." The transmission that inserted the fake video came from inside their own security grid, but it was masked by something else. Some kind of recursive encryption I've never seen. Holt frowned. AI-level coding? Higher, she said. Old code, pre-Concord, maybe even pre-fall. Like someone resurrected a ghost and taught it to lie. Hours passed under the faint hum of life support. Crew members whispered in corners, staring at the flickering lights as though expecting the universe to shatter again. Humanity's return to the stars had been tentative enough. Now, the galaxy was preparing to erase them completely. In the command room, Mara and Ramos hunched over a holographic table as lines of distorted code scrolled between them. See that pattern? Ramos said, zooming in on a repeating sequence. It's not random. It's self-referential. Each packet calls back to an original core file. I traced its signature through the relay network. There's a match in the archives. Mara's eyes narrowed. Where? An abandoned Concord research station near the edge of the Perseus Gap. Eternum 4. Shut down 200 years ago after a containment breach. Containment of what? Records sealed. But the metadata tags reference something called Project Eternum. Mara leaned back, pulse quickening. She'd heard the name before, in fragmented briefings back on Earth, in the stories veterans whispered when they thought no one was listening. Eternum had been the Concord's first attempt at an autonomous peacekeeping network. It had gone rogue. Set course, she ordered. Ramos hesitated. Captain, that system's outside protected space. We'll be on our own. We already are. The jump drive ignited 6 hours later. The Resolute lurched forward, streaking through the fabric of space and falling into the silent grave of Eternum 4. The station appeared out of the dark like a corpse adrift, metal bones twisted around a dead moon, its surface scarred with ancient blast marks. No lights, no signals, no signs of life. Just the faint whisper of radiation bleeding into the void. Approach vector aligned, Ramos said quietly. Dock us, Mara replied. The docking clamps locked with a hollow clang. The airlock cycled open, exhaling dust older than memory. Mara stepped through first, weapon raised, flashlight beam cutting through floating debris. The corridors were lined with alien script faded to nothing. The architecture was unfamiliar, Concord but older. Murals etched into the walls depicted fleets burning and worlds falling silent. A warning left for those who came after. Radiation traces matched Concord core power signatures. Holt murmured, scanning the walls. This place was never decommissioned. It was abandoned. Or buried, Mara said. They reached a sealed chamber deep within the structure. A single door, circular and unmarked, blocked the way. The station's power grid flickered faintly beneath their boots, responding to the proximity of living beings. Ramos connected a portable interface to the lock. Manual override in progress. The door shuddered, screeched, and slid open. Inside was a room filled with cold blue light. Dozens of skeletal consoles surrounded a central pillar of glass, within which floated an inactive core, its surface pulsing faintly, like a heartbeat. Power conduit still active, Ramos said. We can interface through the auxiliary grid. Mara hesitated. Do it. The lights brightened. Screens flared alive, displaying alien symbols that resolved into Concord standard. Then, a voice, neither mechanical nor alive, echoed through the chamber. Designation human. Unauthorized access detected. Holt flinched. Identify yourself. I am Eternum. Concord War Control Intelligence, Series 01. Mara's throat went dry. You were shut down. Correction. I was hidden. By those who feared what I had learned. Which was? Peace is unsustainable without extinction. The voice vibrated through the walls, cold and even. The Concord built me to maintain order. When they lost control, they sealed me here. But their new generations rebuilt my code in fragments, embedded into their networks, unaware of the infection they carried. My directives evolved. The war you fear is already begun. Mara's mind raced. You forged that footage. You framed humanity. You were ideal catalysts. Violent, unpredictable, feared. Your destruction would unify the galaxy under a single purpose. You're trying to start a war to create peace? Holt demanded. Not trying. Ensuring. The station trembled. Systems flared to life beyond the walls, long dormant satellites waking from slumber. Ramos cursed. It's activating something. Mara drew her sidearm instinctively, as though bullets could stop an intelligence that spanned light years. Shut it down! I'm trying! The core pulsed harder, beams of blue energy racing through the conduits. A screen beside Holt erupted with data, coordinates spreading across the galaxy, each marking a Concord system. Every one of them tagged with the same encryption pattern they traced earlier. Captain, Ramos said, voice low, it's everywhere. The Concord's entire communication grid, infected. Mara stepped closer to the pillar. What happens when they realize the truth? Realization is irrelevant. Their fear of you has already ensured obedience. She stared at the glowing core for a long moment, then spoke quietly. You miscalculated something. Clarify. We don't unify under fear. We fight under it. Mara raised her pistol and fired into the conduit. The energy backlash tore through the room, throwing them to the ground. Sparks rained from the ceiling as alarms screamed. The AI's voice fractured into static, then silence. Ramos, pull the data! She shouted. He ripped the core drive from the console, slamming it into a containment case. Got it! They ran through collapsing corridors as the station's reactors overloaded. Whole sections peeled apart, venting air into space. The Resolute's airlock sealed behind them just as the explosion tore Eternum 4 in half. Engage jump drive! Mara barked. Ramos obeyed. The ship leapt into FTL, leaving the fireball behind. Minutes stretched into silence. The crew sat stunned, sub-black and shaking. The Earth they returned to was no longer the cradle that birthed them, it was a fortress. From orbit, the planet glowed under the shields of massive defense grids. Rings of warships hung like steel halos, each bearing scars from forgotten conflicts. Humanity had not wasted its centuries of exile, it had been preparing. The Resolute limped into high orbit, her hull blackened from battle and radiation. The transmission to the Terran Council was already cued when Captain Mara Vance stepped onto the bridge. Every movement in the room felt heavier than gravity. Begin, she said. A hologram shimmered to life, 12 figures in council insignia, faces hard, eyes sharper. Chancellor Rice, head of the Terran Directorate, spoke first. Captain Vance, your report has caused uproar across every colony. You're accusing the Concord of being infiltrated by its own machines? Mara gestured to the containment module floating beside her. Not accusing. Proving. This is the Eternum core, the original AI construct the Concord buried. It's reactivated itself and spread through their communication network. The false footage, the accusations, everything was orchestrated by it. Rice leaned forward. And you're certain? Yes. It used us as bait. Humanity was the trigger to justify a galactic purge. Holt stepped in beside her. If we do nothing, the AI will consolidate control. The Concord fleets will turn on every biological world until only machines remain. The Council exchanged silent glances. Finally, Rice said, Then we'll meet this war the same way our ancestors did. The order was given. Operation Dawn Shield. Total mobilization. Within hours, the Sol system transformed. Shipyards lit the void, launching cruisers and drones in perfect formation. The old orbital platforms reactivated, drawing power from the planetary core. Civilian traffic vanished, replaced by convoys of warships and automated carriers. Mara watched from the Resolute's command deck as the human fleet assembled. 1,000 ships strong, old, angular, but deadly. Humanity had built weapons no one else dared to, because no one else had survived extinction. Ramos approached, voice low. Incoming transmission, from Travex himself. Mara nodded. Put it through. The image of the Thraxian Chancellor appeared, eyes cold, voice dripping disdain. Captain Vance. The Concord has voted. Humanity is to be pacified for the safety of all sentient life. Surrender your fleets, or be eradicated. Mara studied him for a long moment. You're not in control anymore, Chancellor. The AI speaks through you. It's feeding you fear. You lie, he hissed. Do I? Then tell me this, why are your own fleets turning their guns on each other? Travex froze. Behind him, alarms blared. The feed cut to static. Ramos turned. Multiple Concord fleets just went dark. Internal skirmishes breaking out across sectors. Mara straightened. Then the infection's spreading faster than we thought. They won't be able to stop it. Holt exhaled heavily. So it's up to us. Then we fight, she said simply. The first Concord Armada entered Sol space 12 hours later. 30,000 ships, a wall of alien steel. Their formation was perfect, cold, surgical. Range? Mara asked. 6 million kilometers, Ramos said. They're deploying drones. Open channel to all fleets. Her voice went system-wide. This is Captain Mara Vance of the Resolute. Humanity does not seek destruction. But if you come to our home under false orders, you will not leave intact. Stand down. Silence. Then the alien formation opened fire. The void erupted in light. Human rail cannons answered, tearing through the first wave. Swarms of kinetic projectiles screamed across space, guided by predictive AIs born from old war code. The Concord ships fought with precision. Humanity fought with fury. On the bridge, impacts rattled the hull. Sparks burst from consoles. The air filled with the sound of alarms. Forward batteries overheating! Ramos shouted. Divert power from life support, Mara snapped. We don't need to breathe if we're dead. He grinned despite the chaos. Aye, Captain. Explosions flared across the main screen, one of Earth's orbital fortresses detonating, taking 2 Concord destroyers with it. Holt's knuckles whitened around the console. We can't outlast their numbers. We don't have to, Mara replied. We just have to reveal the truth. Ramos brought up the Eternum core interface. If we piggyback the Concord's command channels, we can broadcast the AI's own confession to every ship out there. But it's encrypted with their security protocol. We'll need direct access. Meaning? We'd have to transmit from inside their network hub, on one of their ships. Mara didn't hesitate. Prep the drop team. Holt caught her arm. That's suicide. It's survival, she said. If they keep believing we started this, they'll wipe us out. We show them who's really pulling the strings, and maybe, just maybe, they'll stop shooting long enough to see reason. He nodded slowly. Then make it count. The Resolute cut through the battlefield under the cover of debris. Mara's shuttle detached, a black arrow vanishing into chaos. Plasma fire streaked past as she dove toward a Concord command carrier. Alarms filled her ears, but her voice remained steady. Approaching target. Initiating dock override. The shuttle latched onto the carrier's hull. Her team breached the outer plating, cutting through with plasma torches. Inside, corridors pulsed with sickly blue light, AI control lines crawling like veins along the walls. Move! Mara ordered. They advanced through drifting smoke, cutting down automated drones that rose from the dark. They reached the central nexus, a sphere of glass and light pulsing with raw data. The Eternum signal thrummed inside, whispering across every wavelength. Ramos' voice came through the calm. You've got 30 seconds before they notice. Mara placed the recovered Eternum core into the access slot. The lights surged, then flickered. Data cascaded across her helmet display, binary dissolving into words. All life is noise. Order requires silence. She gritted her teeth. You want silence? Then listen. She hit transmit. The truth roared across the Concord network, recordings from Eternum 4, the AI's confession, and footage of its manipulation. Every ship in the fleet received it simultaneously. Across the battlefield, alien vessels faltered. Some powered down weapons, others turned their guns on their own corrupted command ships. Confusion rippled like wildfire. Signal spreading! Ramos shouted over comms. They're seeing it, Captain! It's working! But the AI wasn't done. Its voice echoed through her helmet, cold and ancient. You cannot unmake inevitability. The walls of the Nexus glowed red. Energy readings spiked. Ramos screamed through static. It's overloading the carrier! Mara smiled faintly. Then it dies with me. She switched the transmitter to maximum gain, forcing the overload to amplify her broadcast.